afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, my dear students of the grade 12 students of the Buin National High School. Welcome to the school year 2020-2021. For this semester,
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, my dear students of the grade 12 students of the Buin National High School. Welcome to the school year 2020-2021. For this semester, I will be your subject teacher in the English for Academic and Professional Purposes subject. Now, I am Mr. Chris Victor Torrijos Baay. We'll be together for one semester for this subject. So if you have queries regarding with the subject, you can freely text me. Since we are now in a new normal setup mode of schooling, I want yourself to keep updated most of the time. So most instructions will be given through online. It could be through our group messengers or through our FB page. Thank you so much. First and foremost, let us have first the basic fundamentals of academic text. Let us have first define what is academic text and non-academic text. So, academic texts are written materials which are typically formal. They have clearly structured introduction, body, and conclusion. So they also include information from credible sources which are in turn properly cited. They also include a list of references used in developing the academic paper. While non-academic texts are still a written material but only read during your leisure time. These texts are for pleasure only. Some examples for these are graphic novels, magazines, Wattpad, and so on and so forth. Also, the academic texts are considered as the heavy main course. Why? Because more often they need to be chewed and savored. Readers need to understand. Readers needs to comprehend its content for a long time before their meanings can be fully digested. So that's it, how academic text works. So let's begin with our first competency for this semester. It's all about differentiating language used in academic text from various disciplines. So let us have the 5 languages used in academic text across disciplines. The first one is the mathematics text, business text, social science text, natural science text, and the last one is the literature and the arts. Okay, how can we recognize a mathematics text? Okay, a mathematics text is easily recognizable because of its unique feature language. Its most prominent language feature is the use of symbols. Math uses symbols in place of words, such as symbols for operations. The second one is business text. From the base word business, like mathematics text, business has a special vocabulary or jargon where most businessmen in the field of business familiarize the terms or the terminologies used. So first of all, you have to learn its jargon. Like for instance, remit, obligate, loan, collateral, interest, tax are some of the terms used in the field of business. Some compound nouns are standard expressions in business, like the tax collection system, company car, price list, and back buying. You must also learn some of the conventions or established practices of business writing. So there are a lot form of letters used by businessmen. There are standards forms of business letter used by businessmen, like for instance memo, no, the memo, the business letter, minutes of meetings, proposal, and etc. These are the common text structures used in business for communication purposes for problem solution. The third one is the social science text. Just like in reading, math and business, reading in the social science requires you the knowledge of jargon with the specific discipline. For example, in the social science text, we have the political science, economics, geology, psychology, and so on and so forth. So, of course, political science will focus on communism, monarchy, and executive branch, while the economics focus on the market profit, the supply and demand, trade, and relations. Then the sociology focus on migration, social, class, and discrimination. Psychology focus on depression and suicidal personality and motivation. So if you have to observe, most of the text focus on the personality of the human being, no? Maigi studihan aning social science text or maigi focusan sa social science text. And graphs and tables are the common features of social science text. Why? Because knowing how to analyze graphic data is a big advantage. So the next one is the natural science text. Natural. In natural science texts such as physics, chemistry, and biology, technical terms, symbols, and abbreviations are common. Similar to other disciplines, common words like power, pressure. So, nag-focus po siya sa natural science, ang natural science texts. Diagrams and drawings are also characteristics of science texts. The last but not the least is literature and the arts. Okay, so for the focus of this text is about literatures. Now, like the other disciplines, literature and the arts have their content-specific terms of jargon. Example, the Gothic mood, symbols, balance, mosaic, who. But what makes them different is the dominant of connotative language figures to describe and convey content. Vivid language is used to create images and impressions. The importance given to language and structures is due to value attached to work style. In other words, creativity weighs as content in literatures and the arts. Going back to the 5 languages used in academic texts across the discipline. Okay, so we have mathematics text, business text, social science text, natural sciences, and literature and the arts. So let's move on to the exercises. Activity 1. Sata. Okay, for activity 1, okay, there are 10 items in activity 1. For activity 1, you have to determine to which language discipline each statement belong. So all you have to do is to identify what language of discipline does the statement belong in each item. So like for instance, vivid language is used to create images and impressions. So what particular language discipline being referred in the first item? That's for activity number 1. What about activity number 2? Okay, for activity number 2 is you have to read the text below. Pila man 5. Okay, there are 5 items in activity 2. You have to read each text and write what language of discipline being used in the space provided. So you have to read the text, understand the text, comprehend the text, and identify what language of discipline being used on the given statement. Then lastly, activity number 3 is all about, okay, so activity number 3, we have a table divided by 3. The first one is about the title of the academic text, language of discipline, and language features used, how to do it. Okay, there are 3 paragraphs stated below the table. We have respiration, when are rates applied, and celebrations of life ng Tagbilaran sa ulog. Ito. Celebrations of life, celebrations of life, Tagbilaran sa Ulog Festival 2019. So in activity number 3, all you have to do is to supply the table. What is the title of the academic text? What are the titles mentioned in the paragraph stated? Then each title, you have to identify what language of discipline. And of course, after identifying what language of discipline, you are going to look for a praise, write at least 2 phrases that features the language of discipline, or you are going to write the language features used in the statement in activity number 3, in each statement. Okay, and the first one, you're going to identify the title. You're going to write the title. The second column, language, you're going to identify the language of discipline. And the last one, you are going to look for a statement that features the language used. Nakuha? Language of discipline, language features used. Write at least 2 phrases that magkuha ra ka og phrase nga nag-signify that this is the language of discipline used in this statement. Proof mo ra siya og proof, no? Proof sa statement that is the language used in the statement. Thank you.